Hi, this is Lauren Engel of Sidewalk. Talk to him here with Orri, who does artist development for Monstercat. And I'm just starting this whole new series where I have people who are at the top of their industry to explain what it's like working behind the scenes. So I want to make this series super informative for you guys. And we have Orri to kickstart it.
I get asked this question quite often, what are the first steps? What do you need to do right out the gate? I think the most important thing is not how to start a record label, but to really understand why you're starting a record label. I think that the word record label means so many different things today, and it'll only continue to mean more things in the future. And so as somebody who's interested in entering that space, you really need to understand why you're doing this and what the purpose or goal that you're trying to achieve. So the goal is to get behind an artist, to get behind a musician, and to kind of amplify what they're doing. And so I think that the most important components of a modern day record label are artists that you as a label are 100% bought into and believe in what they're doing. It's about building community and finding like-minded individuals who can support that and champion, what it is that the artist is creating. That doesn't need to start off big. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. It can be a community of 100 people who are passionate about something. And that starts to echo out and grow and develop over time. And you can't really just step into that space and force community. Community has to be a commitment from equal number of people from all sides. So I think it's really important that you, as someone who's looking to start a label, understand the kind of environment that you're looking to create. And then after that, it's just about being organized, proactive, honest with your artists, supportive of what they're doing. I think that those are all kind of fundamental components to creating whatever that thing is that you as an individual are looking to start. It might turn into what people kind of traditionally see as a record label. It might turn into some form of a management company. It might turn into an event series. There's so many different ways. And I think if you just focus on I need to be a record label, I need to commission artwork and sign masters and distribute them, those are all very rigid constructs. And those are things that an artist as an individual can very easily now just do themselves. So you really need to understand what is that added value that you're bringing to warrant this project existing. For people to even care, you need to have something that is being brought to the table. I'd say the three main challenges, or even tips that I'd say for starting a record label. Number one is you need to be bought in 100% with the artists that are releasing on a label. A label is only as great or as impactful as the artists that they're working with. And that comes from being dedicated and committed to the individual, the craft, the piece of music. The other thing I'd say is a big challenge for a lot of people is finding an audience. There's a lot of people out there and they're being constantly served different things from different musicians, from non-music related things. So getting people's attention is very difficult. And it's only getting more difficult. And I think that, if you try and go a lot of the maybe traditional routes, it works for some artists, for some labels, for some sounds, and it doesn't work for others. I think early on for Monstercat, we kind of realized that, there's this whole audience of people on YouTube that's being underserviced from a brand level. And we took advantage of that, and we found a home there and really sort of championed that as our platform in the early days. Since then, we've branched into spaces like Reddit, like Discord, places that traditionally are not where music communities and label communities are formed. And it's really about knowing and understanding your audience and just wholeheartedly embracing that. And I think the final challenge that's incredibly important, and it's actually where I see a lot of promising labels and promising entrepreneurs kind of struggling at times, is in really understanding that yes, you're running a record label, but at the end of the day, a record label is a business, and you need to make sure that you're structuring your business in a way that's sustainable, that has plans for growth, and that you're able to support the people who are committing to working there and the artists who are committing to release there. That's incredibly important. And sometimes if you're coming into a label from a purely you're a creative, you're an A&R, it's not a bad idea to look at other people who are passionate about music but maybe come from a business standpoint, understand how to structure something like that. That's incredibly important and like really crucial to like longevity. I definitely think that the future of record labels has an insane amount of opportunity to have longevity. If you look at the sort of barrier to entry in the past, I mean, a record label was really like a bank. They would put money up front. They would cover a lot of the costs of doing business in the music industry, you know, like pressing vinyl or distribution or CDs and like promotion and things like that. So it was a very like cash upfront sort of business. So the barrier of entry was very high and the risk was very high. And a lot of companies succeeded, but a lot of companies failed, and you never hear about those companies really. I think in the modern day, the cost of running a record label can scale depending on the release, the artist. It can start off very small in its infancy, sort of grow grassroots, and then, you know, as you kind of grow as a label, as your artists grow, that's when the investment back into the projects and into the company itself can be very fruitful for everybody involved. So I think that there's definitely longevity for those who are clever in how they structure their businesses, are bought into and supportive of what the artists are doing, and are sort of like smart spending. There's a lot more longevity in that, and also not as much risk. I think the landscape in 5 to 10 years, or to be honest, even sooner than then, is we're gonna see a lot of overlap between the roles that different components in the industry play. The lines between a label and management become blurred. You know, labels are also promoters, and managements can also be agents, and you see these sort of services overlapping. You're gonna have promoters that are signing artists, and it's kind of like fair game for anyone to step in if they can create something that's like real, if they can bring eyes and ears to the table and bring value to an artist. What you want to call that, if it's a label or a collective or a management company, or, you know, just an artist doing everything independently, that's going to continue to kind of shift and change and grow into who knows what it'll become. I think from a perspective of Monstercat, you know, our real focus is how do we leverage the brand and the audience that we've kind of grown over the years, really the community that makes Monstercat what it is. How do we continue to leverage that to grow and support artists? And that sometimes can extend beyond the sort of traditional services that a label would offer. But I think as long as you're coming from a place of like passion for the music and passion for the project, the more brain power behind an artist, the better the project's gonna do.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and of course for Orri.
Thanks for having me.
I know, it's been so fun. I've learned
keeping me hostage all day.
I know, we filmed like so many hours, so you guys please watch all 3 videos. But I've learned so much from today too.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was
like
a lot of fun.
just so informative. And if you guys have found this really helpful for your careers, just share it to your friends or whoever you know that's wanting to work in music industry, no matter where they are in the world, or producing, or just huge fans of Monstercat. Just feel free to share like any of these videos that we filmed today.
Perfect.
Yeah.